The amount of information on upcoming Warriors books that's dropped recently is absolutely crazy. First, we get the cover and plot description for Broken Code 4, Darkness Within, which reveals that Squirrelflight is going to be a protagonist again. Then, a preview for Veil of Shadows was released that revealed some not too nice things about the fate of Shadowsight, and then, we got a super ugly cover for Graystripe's Vow, which was also accompanied by a plot description. So naturally, whenever information like this drops, I immediately get to working on theory videos. And today is no different, so let's jump right in. Starting with the classic theory about the imposter Bramblestar being Ashfur that I've been going on and on about since Lost Stars released. Allow me to announce that the theory is still burning strong. It's just so obvious at this point. If it's not Ashfur, I will burn my J-Feather plush. Darkness Within is about Squirrelflight, for crying out loud. The description says Squirrelflight is given the task of bringing light to the identity of the imposter. So this implies that somewhere in Veil of Shadows, probably the end, she is given the burden of knowledge that is the cat's identity. Ashfur is the only reason they choose Squirrelflight for this role. The Warrior Cats team obviously knows how iconic the fire scene is, and how crazy the fans would go if they made a 2.0 version of it, where Ashfur can be like, "Hey Squirrelflight, my quarrel isn't over, it never was, and I've just successfully stolen your life. Enjoy being exiled, boom." Okay, next theory. What's the fate of Shadowsight? The Veil of Shadows preview confirms that the imposter is in fact the cat who attacked him. Bramble comes back to camp covered in blood, and Shadowsight, well, he fell limply to the ground and grew still, and then was tossed into a deep ravine, proclaimed dead by Spiresight, who watched it happen. Now, Warrior Cats has done weirder things in the past, but I'm pretty sure this is the end for good old Shadowsight. A Squirrelflight focused book 4 implies that there will be changes happening to the set point of view characters, and if they're adding one, they can just as easily subtract one. At the end of Silent Thaw, Squirrelflight is positioned in ShadowClan following her expulsion from ThunderClan, so we would have a ShadowClan perspective taking the place of another ShadowClan perspective. Seems reasonable to me. And honestly, I love the idea that the main protagonists are not invincible. I should be feeling anxiety on their behalf while I'm reading. That's how books hook you in. Also, having Shadowsight dead could play into the plot really well. Maybe Rootpaw connects with his ghost, maybe his body gets possessed by a new imposter, setting a ghost cat takeover in motion, which I'll get back to later in the video, stay tuned. For now, let's talk Tigerstar. The cat who drove conflict in the Raging Storm and in Squirrelflight's Hope is actually finally going to be redeeming himself by driving the rebellion against the imposter Bramblestar. I already made a whole video on this exact theory, so I won't go on and on about this for too long, but it just makes sense. ShadowClan, more than any other clan, knows the truth about Bramblestar being an imposter. And with the death of Tigerstar's only son, Shadowsight, he has a whole new reason to want revenge against him. Remember Shadowsight's vision of Bramblestar and Tigerstar fighting in Lost Stars? It's only a matter of time now. I'm guessing it will happen during this big battle in Veil of Shadows, which is confirmed to be a defeat for our heroes, followed by a time of devastation for the warrior clans. We know that Daisy wants to leave ThunderClan, Graystripe has to leave ThunderClan, all is bad. Oh, and my quick theory on the Graystripe plot description is that drawing upon his past is a reference to his son Stormfur, and his journey will be to the mountains so he can get help from the tribe cats. And yes, he's definitely going to die. If not in the Super Edition, then in the Broken Code for sure. And these theories lead us into Book 4. We know Squirrelflight knows the truth, but the plot description still has a question for us. Will Bramblestar have a body to return to? Honestly, I love this conflict. I'm going to predict that Squirrelflight will be put in a position where she has the power to kill the imposter Bramblestar, and one of two things will happen. Either 1, she goes through the trauma of killing her own mate to liberate ThunderClan, or 2, she chickens out, which leads to the Ashfur conflict being dragged out for another book. There is massive drama in both of these situations, so I'm excited to seeing it play out. Alright, all these details are fun, But it's time I get into my big theory that I really dove into last year when Silent Thaw was released. The Ghost Cat Takeover. I'll admit that I'm still grasping for evidence a bit here, but this is my strongest theory given what we have. We might just have to be patient with this. Basically, my theory is that Ashfur is not alone. There is a big group of StarClan cats that felt rejected and cheated out of having a cool legacy. So they started a rebellion in StarClan and they won. That's why the ancestors are shut off. Then, these cats decide they want to go out and have a second chance at life. So they set up a plan to take over the bodies of clan cats, starting with Ashfur stealing Bramblestar's body. And then, Bramblestar exiles cats using his codebreaker excuse, so they're caught out on their own all defenseless. Then, he and his squad kills, takes the bodies, and soon enough they've implemented themselves into the clans. But his plan isn't going perfectly because 1, cats are catching on to him, and 2, these isolated cats are surviving. Squirrelflight didn't even try to isolate herself, and that caused them some stress. So, under this plan, Shadowsight's body might get taken over. And ideally, in the story, they would set up a plot on how no cat can trust anyone anymore, because there are so many imposters going around. I'm not sure if we'll get into this during Veil of Shadows, or if Shadowsight will become an imposter, but I feel these other StarClan cats have to be involved at some point. In fact, my prediction for Book 6 is that we will be getting a second great battle. Except since the Dark Forest is gone, the opponents will be StarClan cats instead. And the central theme around these cats is that they just feel cheated because they've all lived such honorable lives as warriors, just to be completely forgotten after death, in favor of stupid codebreakers like Firestar and Bluestar being remembered so fondly. And there's gonna be so much more ghost cat stuff, but I just don't know what. Squirrelflight's hope and tree and all that is just developing this world for cats that don't go to StarClan so much. And these wandering ghost cats just seem like they will play a part. Maybe some of these wandering ghosts will have joined forces with the StarClan rebels. And that's my theory for now. I'll continue my discussion on ghost cats once Veil of Shadows is released.